So, Chris, it's going to be soon. I'm going to be looking for jobs again.
That sucks.
Yeah, well, my position, I knew was only temporary when I started, but I'm back to that point where I'm going and applying online. And you know how many of these companies have their very own super annoying apply on our website options?
All of them?
Yeah, most all of them.
Okay.
Why do they do that? It's so frustrating.
Are you like Marshall at this point already, where it's like you are sad, you are beaten down, you are going to go to this interview, you're going to go home and put on your comfy pants?
Actually, no, I'm not there yet. I'm at the point where they're like, this position requires a bachelor's degree and 5 years of experience. Salary is $25,000 a year. Fuck you!
Yeah, that doesn't sound appealing.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, buddy.
Yeah. So this is it, folks. It's season 2 of HIMYM Superfans. Hey there, Chris Venezia.
Hello, James Hamilton.
This is the show where we talk about the CBS comedy How I Met Your Mother.
And as always, we are going to ruin the show for you.
Yep, that's your spoiler alert. We are going to spoil plot points for the entire series, not just season 2.
Right. So if you are just joining us, we actually want to make you aware of our season 1 content. Well, you can check it out at facebook.com/groups/HIMYM Superfans. You can also check us out on iTunes.
Or your favorite podcast app. Just search for HIMYM Superfans.
So this is season 2, episode 1. It's Where Were We? A.K.A. How Marshall Learns to Make Pancakes.
That's right. Originally aired September 18th of 2008. Almost exactly 4 months after the season 1 finale.
Right. So no time has actually passed, though, in How I Met Your Mother universe. It starts right afterwards. This one is written by Carter Bays and Craig Thomas, as you might expect, so that they can get the ball rolling the way that they need to. This one's directed by Pam Fryman. We hereby publicly acknowledge the cease and desist on slandering your name, Pam Fryman. Please accept our apologies in the most legal way possible.
Yes, legally speaking, it was totes and approps.
So, guest starring, we got George Clinton as himself.
Yeah, it's actually George Clinton. And there's another guest star who does not get a credit. It's the guy who steals Lily's credit card.
Right. There's also a stripper.
Yeah, Sunshine.
Sunshine. Yeah, he needs some sunshine, so he does that. Quick summary to get you back in the game. Ted finally gets to give advice to Marshall. Marshall hasn't been in breakup mode since before he met Ted.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to do it, so good thing his friend Ted has been through a bunch of breakups.
Yeah, he's got like a PhD in being brokenhearted.
Right. So he's got plenty of advice. He's successful at it for over 50 days.
Yeah. And Mother Fan Dan, what did you call this one? This is the one where Lily is in San Francisco? No, that's terrible.
I kind of love that that's what you think he sounds like, but let's get right into it. So, James, what was your most memorable moment?
Well, I just like seeing Ted and Robin together as a couple in this episode. Most of the episode is focusing on Marshall and his heartbreak, but you get to sort of see these glimpses into their relationship, and they're already like coupley and cuddling on the couch, watching movies. It's just very cute to see.
Yes, yeah. Conversely, there's a couple at a baseball game that's also very coupley. One of my most memorable moments is Marshall getting kicked out of the game for throwing food at them.
Yeah,
hits her in the face with a hot dog. And I mean, like, she gets covered all over her face. Yeah, that's messed up.
All over her face.
What else you got?
With the shower scene.
That is pretty hot.
Yeah.
That's pretty racy. I mean, filmed from the shoulders up, so they could easily be fully clothed. But I mean, it's wet. That's water coming out of a shower head.
It's two people sharing a shower. I mean,
They're
so
really
hot.
close to each other.
I mean, Radner.
And you talk about boner patrol. as a reference from our Office episode we did a couple weeks ago. So the shower scene, I also love the unashamedness that Marshall has just coming in to the bathroom. Totally inappropriate. I actually want to say that, in my mind, the standard protocol on that is that if somebody is in the shower in the bathroom, you do not get to use the bathroom. You do not get to open the door, even peek your head in and yell something unless it's the place is on fire, get out of the shower. Otherwise, you have to wait till they're done. But he just walks in there, and there's other things like that he does, where he's like, he had a bad dream, so he slept on the floor. But the shower scene is totally inappropriate that he goes in there.
Yeah. Anything else memorable?
Yeah, because Lily's in this one, but it's actually in Marshall's fantasy, like when she's with music legend George Clinton. Yeah, and that's not real, but she does come back at the end of the episode, and I know it's been all summer for the characters at that point, but it's been about 20 minutes of content for the fans. I mean, they had to wait all summer, but if you watch the season finale of season 1 and the first episode of season 2, it's been about 20 minutes for Lily to be gone. So her coming back at the end of the episode, it was important that that happened right away, in my opinion.
Yeah, just to remind everyone that no, she's not leaving the show. Right. Yes, she's still part of the regular cast.
Yes.
We're just a daring TV show, and we cut one of our cast members out for an episode because it fit the story.
Bingo.
So that's it. Let's get into the episode, Chris.
Hey, folks. Thanks for subscribing to the podcast.
It's been a lot of fun making this show for you all, but it's also been and continues to be a lot of work.
So many of you share nice things with us on Facebook and Twitter, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, we really want to thank you for listening. And as we continue with our podcast of Where Were We hope that you take this opportunity to hit the share button on your app or computer or whatever you're listening to.
Those shares are how we know that our hard work is paying off.
Yes, this show can be emotionally challenging sometimes, and it feels really good when we get all those shares.
You know what makes me feel really good?
What?
Wearing cantaloupes on my feet like shoes.
Glad you said feet.
So the episode starts with future Ted telling his kids that the beginning of a relationship is often like for another person the end of a relationship, at least insofar as they spend most of their time in bed.
Yes, yeah. I really liked the first part of this episode. At the very beginning, Ted, Marshall, and Robin are in the apartment, and Barney comes in. And Barney's very excited because he thinks for the first time ever, the three guys are single together.
Right.
And he's like, whenever there's a woman who wants to get back at her dad, we will be there. Whenever there's a bachelorette party, sticking their head out of a limo saying, "What's up, New York?" we will be what is up, New York.
Yes, that is also my favorite line from this part of the show. That's memorable. I've quoted that, even though we don't live in New York. It said, we will be what is up, Champagne.
Yes. Yeah. Also, Barney steals the scene here because he has the sight. The sight for boning.
Oh, where Robin has tried to hide her and Ted's new relationship from Marshall so that he doesn't get more sad, but Barney can smell it on them.
Yeah. All he has to do is touch the two of them, and then there's a moment where he realizes it, or he works it out in his head. He's looking at both of them, and he's like, "Oh, you did do it!"
Yeah. He has a sixth or possibly seventh sense for that, depending on if his sixth sense is already something else. Oh, whether or not a woman is single.
Right.
Actually, maybe that's the same thing here. Maybe he can tell that they've decided that they're in a relationship now, so he can tell Robin isn't single anymore.
Oh yeah, because she's putting off a different scent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't even bother. I'm with somebody.
Mm-hmm. So this is definitely Marshall's episode. It's like a big breakup story for him.
And big breakups hurt. I mean, you do have to learn to live all over again. Arguably, this is all a great opportunity, which is the way that Barney looks at it. This is an opportunity, but it's often difficult to see that it's an opportunity through all of the pain of learning how to live your life again. So I know you wanted to talk about the scene where Lily and Marshall like actually have their breakup, because we didn't get to see that in season 1.
Right, that's a missing scene. In the finale of season 1, Lily says unpause or pause, and they start doing it. And then the next thing you see is Lily's gone and Marshall's on the stoop.
With the ring in the rain, yeah.
So in the beginning of season 2, they have this scene that they must have filmed during the production of season 2 because Lily's wearing that bad wig.
I would have never been able to tell.
But it's that scene that we were missing in season 2. They get around to this time. And one more thing I'll say, Chris, if you haven't bought the DVDs yet, do it because there's some extra shower scene content on the DVD.
Oh my!
Oh my!
Oh my! I do like that scene. It is important. It is, if nothing else, added, not because we necessarily needed it, because it's all implied, but they actually need a setup for their next line. Because Marshall says in the flashback, he's like, if you walk out that door, you will never hear my voice again. And then we cut to the present. It's like, I'm going to call her.
Yeah.
So like we get that sort of joke out of their misery, which is nice. So that's one reason why I feel like that particular flashback with Lily's season 1 wig is important.
Yeah.
So, Act 2.
So this is the part of the episode where the rest of the gang tries to cheer Marshall up. They say, you got to get outside, you got to get some sunshine. So that gives Barney the idea to take him to the strip club and see the stripper named Sunshine.
Yep. That's where we get the term B-pegs.
Oh, yes.
That's actually not a recurring thing, which is sad. Actually, I wish the B-pegs was. I thought that was funny. Not a real file type, as far as I know, for computers. I mean, I'm not an IT guy, but I'm pretty sure it's not. Definitely a real file type for brains. True story.
Yeah. And the thing he said about having to overwrite your BPEG images with new BPEG images, that's just good file security.
I don't know that you can overwrite them.
Yeah.
Marshall is getting cheered up 3 different ways.
Yeah, the strip club doesn't really work, so they try to go to a baseball game.
And I love that. Ted is rooting for the Indians, who are playing the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. When he and Marshall go to the game, he's wearing his Indians shirts. And this is actually plausible because they are in the same league, the American League.
Yeah.
The not playing real baseball league. Suck on that, American League.
So
your pitchers have to bat. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, and I like that they're like at the nosebleed section.
Yes. Yeah, they got the gates and like the fence behind them so like they can't fall out the back of the stadium.
Couldn't possibly be farther away from the field. And this is where Marshall throws the hot dog at the woman. And they keep like the Jumbotron with the heart shape on Marshall as he's being let out by security.
Yes, and Ted has to decide whether or not he wants to admit that he's with him. And you never really find out, how that plays out. Because Ted kind of looking like, ooh, should I get involved or should I like sit back down and enjoy the rest of this Indians game? Go Tribe, apparently.
Yeah.
My favorite line from this act, I do want to throw out here, is when I get sad, I stop being sad and be awesome instead. True story.
Yeah, that's Barney's line, and one that does get quoted a little often around us. Like, just stop being sad, but usually it's ironic.
Right. Be awesome instead, though. I mean, Barney does it again later on in this season, like where he gets sick and he stops being sick and he becomes awesome instead.
Yeah, that's when he had too much awesome coming out of his nose. I loved Marshall's line. God, I loved her pancakes. So warm and soft, perfectly shaped. And
even Ted like comments on that, where he's like, "Are you still talking about her pancakes?"
No.
Right, and Marshall actually gives him a kind of a dirty look. He probably doesn't want to be reminded of Lily's B-pegs at that point.
Yeah.
So this is where we actually find out that Robin is a gun nut. This is the introduction of that as an idea. She is from Canada, where actually gun ownership and use is much more restricted than the United States. But having since come here and learned about her Second Amendment rights, Robin has become more of a gun enthusiast. I mean, her father did have them, and they were more for hunting and things. But the range that they go to, she's using a handgun,
right,
which is not used for hunting deer.
Yeah.
So her enthusiasm, I feel like, has only probably grown since she's come to the United States, even though that's not really said.
Yeah, she can very easily just go down the street, rent a deagle, blow off a couple of 50 caliber rounds, and feel like $1 million.
It is interesting to me, though, that they gave gun nut / gun enthusiast, depending on who you ask, to the Canadian.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah, that's funny. I will say in this part of the episode, we do get to hear a few lines from Ted that foreshadow that he's also upset with Lily. Robin cuts him off, or he stops talking about it because it's clear that he and Robin disagree and he doesn't want to rock the boat.
No, I didn't get that impression. That's entirely likely, because Ted does not like rocking the boat.
Yeah.
He avoids conflict if at all possible.
Yeah, so eventually he'll blow up at Lily in How Lily Stole Christmas, but I think he's starting to express his feelings right now.
Yeah, and that's I do want to say for the How Lily Stole Christmas one, his complaint there is that, like, I was your friend too. You didn't just leave Marshall.
Right.
You also left me. You couldn't call me. I mean, for whatever her reason for leaving or whether or not you agree with it, actually the fact that she doesn't keep in contact with Ted is probably for Marshall's benefit, because then Ted would have that information, and if Marshall grilled him enough, he'd be like, yes, I know where she is. She's contacted me. The fact that she cuts Ted off just as much as she cuts Marshall off is probably in Marshall's best interest. So I think Lily gets a point there, no matter how many points she's in the hole for leaving in the first place. But Ted is upset that she leaves him too. You know, it hurt his feelings as her friend.
Right.
They are best friends just as much as anybody else in the gang. So
yeah. And without Ted as a lead on Lily's location or activities, the only thing Marshall has left is her credit card bill, which is what takes us into the next part of the episode. He starts tracking down her credit card purchases and imagining this life she's having in San Francisco with George Clinton.
Right, yes. And that was fun. And he gets her a ferret and things like that. So Marshall's got the credit card statement, which Ted tears up and throws in the garbage. And he pulls it out and unwrinkles it and tapes it back together. And when anyone's like gonna touch it or touches it, they sort of get like a gross, sort of like physical acting there. Like they don't want to touch it because it's been in the garbage.
There's bananas in there.
Right. If you're lucky.
Yeah. There
were bananas in there. You don't know what else there was.
Mm-hmm.
I liked when Ted and Robin are headed to his uncle's place to have a weekend away when they're about to turn back because Marshall is lost. Barney lost him.
Yes, he lost him.
He took him to the strip club and lost him. They're turning around, and Robin asked, is there a hot tub at your uncle's place? He's like, really nice one.
Yeah, really nice one, too. They're driving to his uncle's place in Marshall's car moments after Ted had screamed his head off at Marshall. And I really love that moment because Barney says, bold to go for the car.
Yes.
And he still gets the car.
Yeah, he still gets the car. Marshall, I guess he doesn't. He's probably upset. They don't show it, but he's probably upset. But he's still too sad to even say no. But yeah, bold to go for the car. But yeah, it's uncomfortable to watch that scene. You should actually go back and take a look. Barney and Robin's expressions the moment after Ted screams at him, "You're pathetic," because you're pathetic. I never recommend doing this to a friend, but I don't know. There's also a certain truth to it that Marshall needed to hear it.
Yes.
And occasionally the tough love approach is what someone needs to hear. Sometimes it'll put them in worse of a funk, or maybe first one and then the other. Like first a slightly deeper depression, but then realize, hey, you know what, they are right, and I can be better. And Ted leaves, before he leaves the scene, before he leaves with the car, he leaves Marshall with that. Like, you're not Marshall. Who you are right now is pathetic.
Yes.
Marshall is awesome, and you are not him, and you could never be with Lily with who you are right now. You need to figure out how to be awesome Marshall to even be worthy of Lily anymore.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what he needed to hear.
Yeah, I think it's the best scene in the episode. And you could tell in Ted's face, like just before he explodes on him, there's this shot of him sort of standing away from the group. And you could tell by his body language and his facial expressions that he's making the decision to call Marshall pathetic. And he knows that it's going to upset everyone, but he knows he has to do it.
It's not like a spur of the moment, like just sort of slips out thing. It's an anger that's been building up over 50 days, where he's watched his best friend act a certain way that he knows that he's better than. He knows Marshall is better than this, and he's not getting it, and he's not said anything. He's bottled it up for 50-some days until it finally explodes out of him. But he does make a decision to pop the top on it and have it explode out. Like, he could keep it contained. He could go another day, but he lets it out on purpose. I actually think that's that's why he's doing it. It's not just that he says, like, because you're pathetic and you've always been pathetic and you're just a loser, Marshall. It's because he's been hanging out with Marshall for years and years and years. I think at this point, it's like seven years they've been friends. He has never seen Marshall act like this. This is somebody else, and he wants his friend back. Yeah. And like you are better than this is really what he's trying to say by like you're pathetic right now. Yes. But like he wants his strong, confident friend back, who he knows is still in there because that's who he's been for 7 years. Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, he does look like he's going to go down before he comes up, because the look on Marshall's face is like he's about to punch Ted in the face. Not a slap bet. He's like going to knock his teeth out. Yeah, he is upset. But actually, that's even better. I'd rather Marshall be angry than sad. Yes. I think at that point, because that's something that he's not let himself be. He's let himself be sad plenty over the last 2 months. What he hasn't let himself be is angry. At least he needs energy to be angry. And if he has energy, then once he gets over his anger, he can start working on a more productive solution. Yeah, I agree. So as we go into the last part of the episode, I do want to talk about my favorite scene. That's the one where Marshall's at the hotel bar. He's talking to Ted. And he says, like, those credit card charges were the only remaining connection I had to her. I don't know where she is or what she's doing. She was my whole life, Ted, and now she's gone. And that's it. He doesn't even necessarily want her back. He just doesn't remember what his life is like without her. Because they've been together for so long. And that's what he needs to do. He needs to remember what it was, or find out from here what his life is going to be. And that's hard because his whole life is actually different now. We talked before about our imaginary sitcom where the character gets divorced in the first episode, and he spent the last 10 years in a marriage, and he has no idea how to date. Mm-hmm. This is kind of where Marshall is, except he was never married. He's just been with this one woman essentially his whole adult life. Right, yes, his whole adult life. I mean, it's very similar in many ways to a marriage. Yeah. So there's that, just a little less legal paperwork. He would have to be in contact with her again if they were married, and since they weren't, he doesn't. So there's that. My favorite line from this part of the episode is, "It took him 67 days and one really disgusting batch of pancakes, but Marshall had come back from the dead. Because while baseball, strippers, and guns can help, the only thing that can really heal a broken heart is time." And I think that there's a lot of truth to that. Yeah, absolutely. Just one more thing about Marshall's speech in the hotel bar. I related to that this time around more than I did the last time I saw this, because the way Marshall talks about his sense of loss when he realizes that these credit card transactions were his last connection to Lily reminds me of, breaking up with an ex, and we'll meet 2 or 3 times to clear out the apartment or to trade personal belongings, but eventually there's the last time you turn over something, and
and then I give her this, or she gives me this, and then I'll never have a reason to see her again. And that's sort of, it's just that moment. It's a brief period, and like you say, time heals all wounds. But it's so memorable that I immediately thought about it when Marshall was sharing his sort of feelings on the issue.
Yeah, and though I think that, time does heal all wounds, that doesn't mean that you forget necessarily things like that. I can definitely still remember the lead up going into that, and well, this is the last stuff that we're trading. And then there's that sort of awkward pause, like, all right, bye. And then, you go your separate ways, and say, you're thinking about it before you go into the situation, you're thinking about it during and after, and you're like, yep, from here on out, I have no reason to ever interact with this person again. And it is weird. It's a person that was an important part of your life, and that is something that I think most people can relate to. There's actually even a scene in High Fidelity about that, where Marie DeSalle talks about the splitting the record collection. Yeah. And she hates that. She hates that part because Rob was saying, they're splitting up their things.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, splitting your things.
I hate that part.
Yeah, that's nobody's favorite part.
Yeah. So, Chris, one more question for you. Why did Marshall's pancakes suck? Was it that he ran out of milk and he used ass instead?
Well, actually, I wasn't going to think of anything quite that bad, but I don't know. There's probably lots of reasons that they didn't say. Yeah. I don't have anything good.
I think it's probably too much ass, not enough milk. Chris, I noticed that Marshall admits to being high the day he met Ted and thinking Ted was the dean, which they actually show later in a couple of episodes.
Yeah, he's upset about it. He feels like he's like the least lucky person in the world. Like, really, I'm the guy, I'm the student that gets picked to live with the dean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Marshall was high and kind of dumb. He's like, that's not going to happen ever? Yeah. So, oops on Marshall not realizing that.
One new thing I want to try for season 2, Chris, is the worst part of the show.
Worst part of the show, okay.
Yeah, I would say the very end of this episode where the characters are drinking at the bar, they're not in their regular booth, and they're at that weird table in the middle, and Lily starts to come down, you can see her through the window, but the other characters at the table, they have like this laughing, joking thing where then they touch each other on the shoulders, and I got the impression like, wow, that's really forced and fake.
It is. I'll give you that's the worst part. The worst part isn't actually Lily coming back and almost coming in, because the reason why she doesn't, in my opinion, is because she sees Marshall happy, and she doesn't want to come in and rain on his parade that evening, because she expected to come back and see him depressed, because Barney promised that he was when he goes to visit her in San Francisco. Spoiler alert, we're not there yet. That's all fine that Lily comes in and decides that she's not going to come into the bar because she sees Marshall happy, but the worst part is that super fake why she doesn't come in is because they're all touching each other in the bar. Like, they're having like a group hug over the middle of the table.
Yeah, it's so sitcom-y and fake. Oh, you mentioned Barney. We kind of glossed over this, but Barney loses Marshall. Like, that was his one job. It was like, you babysit Marshall tonight, and he doesn't even try that hard.
You had one job.
And
one job.
He's just gone. And
Barney was not even watching it.
And Barney's like, oh, he's gone. I'm going to continue getting a lap dance. You go find him.
Yep.
Like, did Barney just not care?
No.
Or did Barney, like, maybe this is post-Barney going to San Francisco, and he's like, oh, I'm not going to worry about it because Lily's on her way back.
Yeah, that's entirely likely. And that would clear everything up, which it doesn't right away. It does a few episodes later, but it's possible. I actually got the impression that he literally could not have cared less, that he assumed that Marshall is a grown-ass man and needs to do whatever he needs to do to get through it. I already withdraw that immediately after saying it, because it's because he didn't trust Marshall to do anything correctly that Barney goes to San Francisco to try and get Lily to come back. So I'm going to go with your idea that Lily's on her way, so whatever Marshall's going to do, at least he doesn't have to put up with Marshall's bullcrap for only a few more days or hours because Lily's coming.
Yeah. So a few new locations. We've got the restaurant in San Francisco that Marshall imagines Lily dining at with George Clinton.
Not a real place.
Yeah.
This is a fantasy in Marshall's head.
We've got the Kellett Hotel, which is, I think, named for one of the writer-producers of the show, Gloria Cauldron Kellett.
Probably.
Of course, the baseball park.
Yep, Yankee Stadium.
And the strip club, which we've seen before and we'll see again.
Yep, that's the same one. They always go, no matter which strip club they go to, it is the same set.
Yes. Whose episode was this, Chris? Was this a Ted episode? Was this a Marshall episode? I think it's one of those two.
I'm going to say Marshall. No, because if it's not, if I was going to give it to anybody other than Marshall, I'd give it to Ted and Robin. Because we finally get to see them interacting as a couple.
Yeah.
Like for the first time ever. And it's fun. I like it. Barney does several suicide jokes, which are a little touchy. Suicide sometimes not a thing that one can joke about. Maybe we should be able to joke about everything, but those are probably going to hit some other people harder than others. I usually steer away from those jokes, but Barney didn't. He does 3 different suicide jokes in the episode. Trying to get out of watching Ted and Robin be a couple. I liked it. Actually, the flipping Robin onto his drafting table, and I thought that was really hot.
Yeah,
among the shower scene, like you said. Yeah. So, I thought that if I wasn't going to give it to Marshall, I'd give it to Trobin. I don't know. Did they ever get a goofy, like a name for like their couple, like a couple name? Where you mix their 2 names together. Like Ted and Robin.
Oh, yeah.
Give it to Ted Robin. Like there aren't any. We'll work on that. Was there ever one? If you have a good name for Ted and Robin in this season, let us know at facebook.com/groups/HIMYM superfans or tweet at HIMYM_James. I will click on your comment with the heart.
Yes, we'll heart you. So that's all we had to say about this one, folks. What do you have to say?
If you use the internet, you can go to our site, James and Chris Discuss How I Met Your Mother and wantyourfeedback.com.
Actually, I changed it. It's facebook.com/groups/HIMYM superfans.
Then how do people tweet at us again?
Well, that would be at HIMYM_James.
If you like the podcast, all we ask that you do is like, comment, subscribe, share, upvote, retweet, and give us a comment at Chris and James Discuss How I Met Your Mother and we want your feedback.com.
Yeah, we get paid in likes, shares, and comments on Chris and James Discuss How I Met Your Mother and ask for your feedback.com, which is still better than that time I had that job at that fish factory and I got paid in fish.
Well, that must have been rough, James.
It smelled.
Please give us those shares and likes so James doesn't have to go back to the fish factory. And we'll be back next week with the Scorpion and the Toad.
And check out our Facebook group for new stuff all week long.
Thanks, folks.
Bye-bye.
Oh, sorry, buddy. I'm going to have to take this one.
That was my candy.